Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. It really means a lot to me. Listen, what we got today is an opinion piece on two topics that I got in an email spam from another conference, so not Save Our Sites. By the way, the only conference I'm ever going to recommend from now on to anyone in this industry is Save Our Sites. SaveOurSites.com. We're going on our second year in 2025. We created a conference for sites, for job seekers, for sponsors, affordably. We're not looking to make money out of it. With all that being said, I got a spam email from another conference. And they're going to have some panel talking about a couple of topics. And when you actually get there, if you ever go to those conferences, you're going to see a bunch of people talking, but nothing really being said. And people are usually talking to look good, not to actually provide real insights into what they think, because people are afraid to say what they think. Again, that's why we created Save Our Sites. We wanted a safe platform where that's expected, so you don't have anything to actually be afraid of. We're making it the norm. Okay, what sites actually want from sponsors and CROs, and what sponsors and CROs do not understand about site costs. This is my opinion. Let me break it down as someone who's owned and operated sites since 2005. What sites want from sponsors is very simple. Obviously, we want studies. We want a good relationship with those sponsors. We don't necessarily care so much about CROs, although we understand that the CROs are the gatekeepers in many cases for the studies. So we want a good relationship with the CROs as well, but we really want a good relationship with the sponsors. And one of the things I'm seeing Big Pharma doing lately is getting their medical science liaisons involved and getting their local region, territory people involved as far as research. Like, they really are looking to collaborate with research sites, especially research sites that are hybrid private practice / research sites, which I think is the biggest potential opportunity in our space by far, is tapping into these private practices and getting them to do research. And I predict in a decade we will have twice as many sites doing research because of technology, because of entrepreneurs, and because of sponsors making concerted efforts to make this happen, and because of the need for diversity. Now, with that being said, let's get the obvious out of the way. Obviously, what sites want from sponsors and CROs is studies. But what we really want is a good relationship with them. And by good relationship, I mean a two-way street of communication. We want to not just be told what to do all the time. We'll definitely do it. We understand our role in the hierarchy. We are the ones getting paid, not the ones doing the payments. But we are also the ones on the front lines talking to the patients, screening, randomizing the patients, dealing with the adverse events, making decisions with the patients and their families on what studies are appropriate for them. We want sponsors to listen to us as well. So by listening, I mean take into consideration protocol changes. Sometimes the protocols are unreasonable. Taking into consideration technology that's cumbersome for patients. We still have not figured out how to do patient-reported outcomes the right way. Eventually it's going to get done, but in the meantime, they're just iterations of something just a little better. And sponsors need to understand the patient burden, and sponsors need to understand the site burden. And a lot of this site burden comes in the way of multiple tech vendors that don't work when we really need them to work. And again, I think those things get better. I think interoperability is actually going to be one of the biggest unlocks to allow more doctors and more private practice clinics to participate in more studies in a decade from now. I think we are going to double the amount of investigators doing research a decade from now, and it's not going to come from academia. It's going to come from private practice research clinics, or private practices that don't do research, like the one I just drove by right now. We don't work with them here in Yuma, but that's a perfect example of a huge private practice that does not do research and does not even refer patients to do research. Whole nother topic. Also, what sites want And this is where it gets into money. Sites want to finally figure out why the majority of sponsors or CROs have a problem paying on time. Now, it's gotten a lot better. I know there's a lot of noise around this in our space. There's people that like to complain about this. I've been doing this since 2005. It's gotten a lot better, but it's not ideal. And sites don't have unlimited money. We need working capital. We understand that there's a slow payment cycles in this space. But when a contract says monthly and we actually get quarterly payments, or when a contract says quarterly and we only get like yearly payments, it's a little excessive because we have to, and yes, there are a lot of profit margins in this space. So the bigger sites can subsidize, knowing that the sponsors do eventually pay. By far and away, the majority of sponsors pay their bills. They don't pay their bills on time, but they pay the sites what they are owed, almost to the point where you don't have to police the sponsors. Like, hey, I think you shortchanged me. Matter of fact, in all my instances of accounting reconciliation, I generally have been overpaid more than underpaid. Like, sponsors have actually paid me more than what I was owed accidentally. So they don't shortchange you as far as like compared to other businesses are concerned. You don't have to worry about your customers pulling a fast one on you. But getting these payments on time, and I know the CROs do this for different reasons, but the sponsors, we understand it's not your main core competency to pay vendors. But we really ask because there's sites out there struggling to pay their bills. Another thing we ask is the screen fail cap. There are times where screen fail caps, I think they're not appropriate at all. Now, what you want to do as a sponsor is you don't want sites to abuse the unlimited screen fail, right? So as long as the sites are putting in a good effort, and it's very easy for you sponsors and CROs to tell whether sites are abusing something or not. You have monitors going in constantly. The monitors can quickly tell you, even through their reports that you read, the monitoring visit reports, whether the sites are recklessly screening, like without regard for whether the patient has any chance of qualifying or not, or whether they're legitimately trying and still having screen fails. So screen fail caps, I think most sites are with me when they say they should be policed, but they should not exist. So there should be unlimited screen failure within reasonable limits. So you trust the site that they're not screwing you over until you have evidence to suspect that they are. And then you slow it down right away and you say, hey, I'm going to put you on a screening hold until we figure out what's going on, because we can't afford to just pay you for screen fail. But if your study is expecting 90% screen fail rate, you shouldn't have a screen fail cap. And shout out to one of the sponsors we're working with on right now. They're a small sponsor. They understand this. And what do we do as a site? We screen way more than we do on other studies, because we know that, hey, even if the patient fails, we're still getting paid. And guess what? The sponsor likes it because they know we're not abusing it. They would have talked to us already. They've actually asked us questions. Hey, how are you pre-screening people? Okay, and then they liked our justification, so they kept going with it. But other sites, I know in the same study, the sponsor's policing it. Mind you, this is a small biotech with no CRO. They're doing this all internally. If they're able to do it, I know the big pharma are able to do this too. The question is, do you want to do it? I understand it's not your core competency, but if you want sites to focus on your trials, especially in the era of diversity, where you need sites, look around. I wish the GoPro can do a 360. I'm in an underserved area. There are lots of underserved patients here from a diverse group of backgrounds. Native Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, African Americans. If you don't want to piss off sites like us, if we are in valuable locations like this, or if we are a good site that does good quality data, and you try to be penny wise and pound foolish by having screen fail caps, we're just going to move on to screening on another study. I'm in this situation right now with a sponsor. We've been doing a really good job for them. We're actually trending towards high enrollers, but they refuse to remove the screen fail cap. And I'm negotiating right now, and I might have to just play hardball and say, hey, we're going to go move on to other studies because it is costing me money. It's one thing when we're not getting paid for a screen failure. It's another thing when there's a lot of work to do on the screen failure. Forget about just the visit itself, the screening visit itself. All the data that's on the back end that these sponsors now, you have to understand, data is the new oil. Data is the new gold. Data is the precious resource that artificial intelligence is using to train itself. Sponsors and CROs, you guys know what I'm talking about. So that's why the screen fail data entry has gotten insane. Like when I started doing research in 2005, screen failure was very simple. You almost ignored the EDC. Like, okay, you put that they screen failed and why, and as much data as you got from visit one. Well, now they want so much data from visit one, and they'll query you on the screen fails just as much as they do on a randomized patient. That's fine. We understand data is the new gold, but we don't understand why we won't get paid for this activity. So that's another thing I don't see sites discussing in this industry, and like people having real conversations around these issues. Another thing that we need to address is community outreach fees. So us sites, we are already paying for our own branding. My site, for example, we have a YouTube channel, we have a podcast, we have an Instagram, we have a TikTok, we have a website, right? We do not ask for reimbursement for any of these things. Now, I understand that's the cost of doing business. No business is going to ask its customers to pay for their branding. I get it. But when we start doing study-specific recruiting, and sponsors want Native Americans or Hispanic Americans or African Americans, and they want us to go out in the community and do specific recruitment for these groups, that costs us money. If I go do a community event today for Native Americans, there's 3 tribes around here. It's going to be an all-day thing. First of all, I got to go in front of the tribal council, do a presentation, get approval. That's like a 4-hour thing. The presentation itself is 1 hour to present. It's another hour to prepare. It's another like 2 to 4 hours, might even be more than 4 hours, to prepare the actual presentation itself. That's time that is not being spent on the site doing other studies. So I think a lot of sponsors understand that, and they've been putting in community outreach fees in the budgets, but these are not IRB approved. You cannot IRB approve an outreach. You can IRB approve the flyers you're going to present, but you can't get IRB approval for the whole day's event, where I go out, I bring catering, I bring a tent, we do activities, we have giveaways. There's no way we can IRB approve that stuff, but that stuff costs us money. So, in fairness to the sponsors, they have been getting better at approving these things, but I think we can do even better job. Now, interoperability of technologies, I think it's going to be the major unlock. I think sponsors need to invest in underserved communities and private practices in those communities that are high prescribing clinic for whatever medications. Like, obviously it benefits the sponsor to have sales reps go out to those clinics since they're already prescribing for drug XYZ. But I think we need to go a step further, not just with the medical science liaison. Sponsors need to go a step further with providing training and support and resources for those sites. And I know there's a lot of regulations around this with the Sunshine Act and anti-kickback laws, but there are organizations like Latinos in Clinical Research and like our academies, the Site Owner Academy, that can do this. And I think this kind of investment needs to be made for the benefit of not just 1 or 2 individual sponsors, but of the entire industry. That's my rant for today and my strong opinion. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Let me know your thoughts on this. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.